The delivery driver's hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold the box. "Don't open this inside," he whispered, looking around like someone was watching us. "Go somewhere public." I thought he was completely insane. 30 minutes later, I opened it at Starbucks, and what I found inside made me realize someone had been in my bedroom while I was sleeping. Someone had been watching me for weeks, and I had no idea. My name is Sarah Bennett. I'm 28, and I work from home as a freelance graphic designer here in Portland. 6 months ago, I moved into a townhouse by myself after ending a 2-year relationship. I wanted independence. I wanted a fresh start. I wanted to prove I could make it on my own. My younger brother Tyler lives up in Seattle, about 2 hours away. We text almost every day, usually stupid memes or complaints about work. My parents, Linda and Robert, retired to Arizona last year. They worry about me living alone, but they respect that I need my space. Or at least, they did before all of this happened. Before I realized that being alone isn't always safe. If you're watching this, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now, because this story gets darker than you think, and I need you to hear all of it. Also, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I want to know I'm not alone in this. It was a Tuesday in late September. I remember because Tuesdays are my favorite work days. No meetings, no deadlines breathing down my neck, just me and my design projects. I'd been working from home for 3 days straight at that point, barely leaving except to grab food deliveries from my porch. My dining table was covered in sketches, my laptop was running hot, and I had a true crime podcast playing in the background. Yeah, I know. The irony isn't lost on me now. I lived in this quiet townhouse community where nothing ever happened. The most exciting thing that week was Mrs. Chen next door getting a new garden gnome. I felt safe there, comfortable. I decorated the place exactly how I wanted it. Plants everywhere, string lights in the living room, my art prints on the walls. It was mine, my space, my sanctuary. That's the thing about feeling safe. You get comfortable. You stop checking the locks twice. You stop looking over your shoulder. You trust that the world is going to leave you alone if you're not bothering anyone. I was wrong about that. My routine was simple and predictable. Wake up around 8, make coffee, work until lunch, take a walk around the neighborhood if the weather was nice, work some more, order dinner, watch Netflix, sleep, repeat. My brother Tyler would call me boring, but I liked the quiet. After 2 years of dating Devin and dealing with his constant need to know where I was and what I was doing, being boring felt like freedom. Devin and I had broken up 6 months earlier, right before I moved into this place. It wasn't dramatic, no big fight. I just realized one day that I felt more tired than happy, more controlled than loved. When I told him it was over, he took it surprisingly well. He said he understood, that he wanted me to be happy, that we could still be friends. We hadn't talked since, but I figured that was normal. Clean break, move on, start fresh. My parents worried about me living alone. My mom called every Sunday like clockwork. Are you eating enough? Are you making friends? Are you sure you don't want to move closer to Tyler? But I loved my independence. I loved coming home to my own space, decorated my way, organized my way, quiet when I wanted it quiet. That Tuesday started like any other. I woke up, made my coffee, sat down at my dining table with my laptop. I was working on a logo design for a local coffee company. They wanted something modern but warm, professional but approachable. I'd already gone through 15 versions and none of them felt right. Around noon, I took a break and scrolled through social media. Tyler had posted a photo from some brewery in Seattle with his friends. My mom had shared another recipe video she'd never actually make. Normal stuff, boring stuff, the kind of day where nothing interesting happens, and you're perfectly fine with that. I ordered lunch from the Thai place down the street. Pad Thai, extra peanuts, spring rolls. The delivery guy left it on my porch like always. I ate it while watching a YouTube video about graphic design trends, finished working around 5, made myself some tea, and settled onto my couch with my current book. This was my life. Simple, peaceful, safe. I had no idea that in less than 24 hours, I'd be sitting in a police station, learning that someone had been watching me for weeks, that someone had been inside my home while I slept, that my boring, predictable routine had made me the perfect target. But that Tuesday afternoon, I was just Sarah, a graphic designer who worked from home, drank too much coffee, and talked to her brother too much about nothing. I was happy. I was comfortable. I was completely unaware that my entire world was about to fall apart. The doorbell rang around 2 in the afternoon, cutting through the quiet hum of my laptop fan and the podcast playing in the background. I wasn't expecting anyone, but I had ordered some art supplies from Amazon earlier that week, so I figured they'd finally arrived. I saved my work, stretched my arms above my head, and padded to the front door in my sweatpants and hoodie. When I opened it, nobody was there, just a cardboard box sitting on my welcome mat. But this wasn't an Amazon box. It was plain brown, no logo, no shipping label, nothing except my name written across the top in thick black Sharpie. Sarah Bennett. Something about seeing my name like that, so deliberate and personal, made my stomach twist. I bent down to pick it up when I heard footsteps, quick footsteps on the sidewalk, like someone was trying to leave in a hurry. I looked up and saw a man in a gray hoodie walking fast toward a white van parked at the curb. He wasn't running, but he was moving like he didn't want to be seen. "Hey, excuse me," I called out, standing up straight. "Is this from you?" He stopped. For a second, I thought he'd just keep walking, but he turned around slowly, and when I saw his face, I knew something was wrong. He was maybe 40, with tired eyes, and a face that looked like he hadn't slept in days. But it wasn't exhaustion I saw. It was fear. Real, genuine fear. "You're Sarah Bennett?" he asked, his voice shaky and uncertain. I nodded, still holding the door open with one hand. "Yeah, that's me. Did you deliver this?" He shook his head fast, too fast, like he wanted to make sure I understood he wasn't responsible for whatever was in that box. "No, someone paid me $200 cash to bring it to you. Gave me your address and told me to hand it directly to you. Nobody else." He glanced down at the box on my porch like it might explode. "Look, I don't know what's in there, but the guy who gave it to me was off. Really off." My heart started beating faster. "What do you mean? What guy?" The delivery driver wiped his palms on his jeans, clearly uncomfortable. "I don't know his name. Average height, dark jacket, baseball cap pulled way down over his face. He met me in a parking lot by the East Side Mall. Just walked up, handed me the box and $200 bills. Gave me this address." He swallowed hard. "I needed the money, okay? But he made me promise to tell you something, and I'm gonna tell you because I got a really bad feeling about this whole thing." I stepped out onto the porch, my bare feet cold against the concrete. "Tell me what?" He looked me straight in the eyes, and I could see his hands trembling slightly at his sides. He said, "Don't open this inside your house. Go somewhere public, somewhere with cameras." Those were his exact words. He made me repeat them back to him twice to make sure I got it right. The afternoon air suddenly felt colder. A chill ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the September weather. Why would he say that? What's in the box? The driver was already backing toward his van, shaking his head. "I don't know. And honestly, I don't want to know. I just deliver stuff to make extra cash on weekends. But whatever's in there, you need to listen to what he said. Don't open it alone. Don't open it inside. I'm serious." He climbed into his van before I could ask anything else, and I watched him pull away from the curb faster than necessary, like he couldn't get away from my house quick enough. I stood there on my porch, holding a box with my name on it, delivered by a terrified stranger with a warning from someone who wouldn't show his face. For the first time since moving into this townhouse 6 months ago, I felt genuinely afraid. I looked up and down my quiet street. Mrs. Chen was watering her garden 3 houses down. A jogger ran past with headphones in. Everything looked normal, peaceful, safe. But I didn't feel safe anymore. I picked up the box and brought it inside, setting it on my kitchen counter. It was light, maybe a pound or 2. I shook it gently. Nothing rattled or moved in a way that seemed dangerous. No strange smells, no ticking sounds, just a regular box. But regular boxes don't come with warnings from strangers. Regular boxes don't make delivery drivers scared. I pulled out my phone and texted Tyler. Weird delivery today. Guy seemed really spooked. You round later? His response came within seconds. In a meeting till 5. Everything okay? I stared at the box, at my name written in that bold black marker, and typed back, yeah, probably nothing, even though I didn't believe it for a second. I spent the next 20 minutes pacing circles around my kitchen, staring at that box like it was a live grenade sitting on my counter. My mind was racing through every possible scenario. Was this some kind of prank? Maybe Tyler put someone up to it, though that didn't make sense because he was genuinely concerned when he texted back. Could it be from Devon? We hadn't spoken in 6 months, and our breakup had been clean. No anger, no threats, just a mutual agreement that we wanted different things. He'd seemed fine with it. Too fine, actually. I remembered thinking at the time that he'd accepted it too easily, but I'd been relieved to avoid the drama. Now that memory felt different. Suspicious. The delivery driver's words kept playing on repeat in my head. Go somewhere public, somewhere with cameras. Why would someone want me to open a package in public? The only reasons I could think of were terrifying. Either what was inside would hurt me and they wanted witnesses, or what was inside would change everything and they wanted proof that I'd seen it. Neither option made me feel better about the situation I was in. I grabbed my phone again and opened my text thread with Tyler, typing out a longer message this time. The delivery guy said someone paid him cash to bring me a box. Told him to warn me not to open it inside. Should I call the police? I hit send and waited, watching the 3 dots appear and disappear twice before his response came through. That's really weird. Maybe call the non-emergency line. But it could be nothing. Don't freak yourself out. Easy for him to say. He wasn't the one standing in his kitchen with a mysterious package and a stranger's warning echoing in his ears. I thought about calling the police, but what would I even tell them? A man delivered a box to my house and seemed nervous? They'd think I was paranoid or wasting their time. I hadn't even opened it yet. For all I knew, it could be completely harmless. Maybe it was a gift from a client. Maybe the delivery driver was just having a bad day, and I'd read too much into his behavior. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very, very wrong. I picked up the box and shook it again, more carefully this time, listening for any clue about what might be inside. It was definitely lightweight, and whatever was in there shifted slightly, but didn't make any sound. Soft items, maybe. Clothing? Papers? I set it back down and took a step back, crossing my arms over my chest. The rational part of my brain told me to just open it and get it over with. The scared part of my brain told me to throw it in the dumpster behind my building and pretend this never happened. But the delivery driver's warning won out. If someone went through the trouble of paying a stranger $200 cash to deliver this with specific instructions, then it mattered. Whatever was inside mattered enough that someone wanted me to see it in public, with other people around, with security cameras recording. That meant I needed to take this seriously. I made my decision. I grabbed my purse, my keys, and the box, and headed out to my car. My hands were shaking as I unlocked the door and set the box carefully in the passenger seat. I knew exactly where I was going. There was a Starbucks on Maple Street, about 10 minutes from my house, and it was always packed with people. Students studying for exams, business meetings, people working remotely on their laptops. It had big windows facing the street, and I knew they had security cameras because I'd seen them mounted near the register. If I was going to open this box, that's where I'd do it. The drive felt surreal. I kept glancing over at the box sitting innocently in my passenger seat, my name staring back at me in that black Sharpie handwriting. Every red light felt like it lasted forever. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. When I finally pulled into the Starbucks parking lot, I sat in my car for a full minute, gripping the steering wheel and trying to calm my breathing. You're probably overreacting, I told myself. This is probably nothing, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I walked inside, the familiar smell of coffee and baked goods hitting me as the door chimed. I ordered a vanilla latte I knew I wouldn't be able to drink, just to have a reason to be there, and found a small table in the corner near the window. There were other customers scattered around. A mom with a toddler in a stroller, a guy in his 20s with headphones on, typing away on his laptop, An elderly man doing a crossword puzzle with his newspaper spread out in front of him. Normal people having a normal Tuesday afternoon. I set the box on the table and stared at it. This was it. Whatever was inside was about to change everything. I pulled out my phone and took a picture of the box before I opened it, just for evidence, though I wasn't even sure what I was gathering evidence for. My hands were trembling as I reached for the packing tape. I dug my fingernail under the edge and pulled, the sound of ripping tape seeming louder than it should have been in the busy coffee shop. Nobody around me noticed. The mom was wiping her toddler's face with a napkin. The guy with headphones was completely absorbed in whatever he was working on. The elderly man turned a page in his newspaper. Life was continuing normally for everyone except me. I peeled back the cardboard flaps and looked inside. The first thing I saw was a key, a single silver key with a blue rubber cap on the end. My breath caught in my throat because I recognized it immediately. It was my house key. Not just any house key, but the spare one I kept in my junk drawer in the kitchen. The one I'd put there the day I moved in and hadn't touched since. I reached in with shaking fingers and pulled it out, staring at it like it might somehow be different from the one I remembered. But it wasn't. It was definitely mine. Underneath the key was my wallet. The brown leather wallet I thought I'd lost last week. I'd searched my entire house for it, checked my car 3 times, retraced my steps to every place I'd been. Finally, I'd given up and ordered a replacement online, canceled my credit cards, went through the whole annoying process. But here it was, sitting in a box delivered by a stranger. I picked it up and opened it. Everything was still inside. My driver's license, my credit cards, $43 in cash, even the coffee shop loyalty card I'd been collecting stamps on. Nothing was missing. Someone had taken my wallet and then given it back. Why would anyone do that? My mind was racing, trying to make sense of what I was seeing, but nothing made sense. Then I saw what was underneath the wallet, and my entire world stopped. It was a Polaroid photograph, the kind that develops instantly with that distinctive white border. The image was slightly blurry around the edges, but sharp enough in the center where it mattered. It was a picture of me, asleep in my bed. I was lying on my side, wearing my old gray college t-shirt that I sleep in every night, my hair spread across my pillow, one arm tucked under my head. The photo was taken from the foot of my bed, looking down at me. I could see everything. My nightstand with my phone charging, the book I'd been reading before bed, the lamp I always left on because I didn't like complete darkness, every detail of my private bedroom, my private moment, captured by someone who had been standing right there while I slept. The sounds of the coffee shop faded into nothing, the espresso machine hissing, the mom laughing at something her toddler did, the soft music playing overhead. Everything became distant and muffled like I was underwater. My vision tunneled. My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped the photograph. Someone had been in my house, in my bedroom, standing at the foot of my bed close enough to take a picture while I was completely vulnerable and unaware. How long had they stood there watching me? What else had they done? I forced myself to flip the photograph over, and what I saw on the back made my blood turn to ice. Written in the same black Sharpie as my name on the box were 7 words that shattered any hope this was some kind of mistake or misunderstanding. Round 2 starts tonight. Hide better this time. Round 2. That meant there had been a round 1. That meant this wasn't the first time. My mind raced back through the past few weeks, searching for anything I might have missed. About 3 weeks ago, I'd been feeling exhausted for no reason, completely drained, sleeping heavier than usual, waking up groggy and confused. I'd chalked it up to stress and long work hours. But what if it wasn't? What if someone had drugged me? What if they'd been inside my house before, multiple times, and I'd been too unconscious to know? I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight. The walls of the Starbucks seemed to be closing in. I fumbled for my phone with trembling hands and called Tyler. It went straight to voicemail. He was still in his meeting. I tried again. Voicemail again. I texted him with shaking fingers. Call me now. Emergency. Then I dialed 911. The operator answered on the second ring, her voice calm and professional. Everything I wasn't. I tried to explain about the box, the photograph, the key, but the words came out jumbled and panicked. She asked if I was in immediate danger. I said I didn't know. She asked where I was. I told her Starbucks on Maple Street. She said officers were on their way and to stay in public until they arrived. I sat there staring at that photograph of me sleeping, completely helpless and unaware, and realized that someone had been watching me for weeks. Someone knew where I lived, how I slept, what I wore to bed. Someone had my key and my wallet and access to my entire life. And round 2 was starting tonight. 2 police officers arrived at the Starbucks within 10 minutes. Officer Martinez was in her mid-30s with kind eyes but a serious expression, and Officer Chen looked younger, maybe fresh out of the academy. I showed them everything: the box, the key, the wallet, the photograph. My hands were still shaking so badly that Officer Martinez had to take the Polaroid from me because I kept dropping it. They asked me questions I could barely answer through the fog of panic. Had I noticed anyone following me recently? Any strange cars parked on my street? Unusual phone calls or messages? The answer to everything was no. I'd been completely oblivious to whatever had been happening around me. Officer Martinez photographed everything with her phone, while Officer Chen took my statement. When I mentioned my ex-boyfriend Devin, they exchanged a look that made my stomach drop even further. They asked for his full name, his last known address, where he worked. I gave them everything I could remember. Then Officer Martinez said something that made this nightmare even worse. "Ms. Bennett, we're sending officers to your residence right now to secure it. We need you to come to the station to give a complete statement. And I'm going to be very direct with you. Based on what you've shown us, someone has had access to your home multiple times. Until we clear your property and change your locks, you cannot go back there alone." My brother Tyler called back right as we were leaving the Starbucks. I answered and immediately started crying, really crying for the first time since I'd opened that box. I told him everything while Officer Martinez drove me to the station. He said he was leaving work immediately and driving down from Seattle. He told me not to go back to my house. He told me I was coming to stay with him and he wasn't taking no for an answer. At the police station, I spent 3 hours going through everything again in excruciating detail. They went through my phone records, pulled security footage from the Starbucks, asked me about every person I'd interacted with in the past 6 months. Tyler arrived halfway through and sat with me, holding my hand when I started shaking again. Then, Officer Martinez came back into the room with an update that made me physically sick. They'd searched my house and found cameras. Small hidden cameras installed in my bedroom smoke detector and my bathroom vent. The smoke detector. I remembered when I'd moved in 6 months ago. There had been a renovation crew finishing up some work. They'd installed new smoke detectors in every room. I'd thought nothing of it at the time. Officer Martinez pulled up a photo on her tablet and showed me a man's face from a driver's license. "Do you recognize this person? His name is Marcus Holt." I stared at the photo, and my memory clicked into place like a puzzle piece I'd been missing. He was part of the renovation crew. He installed my smoke detectors. Everything made horrible sense. He'd had access to my house for weeks during the renovation. He'd had my keys. He knew the entire layout. He'd installed the cameras himself while I was paying him to make my home safe. Officer Martinez continued. "We found his storage unit. Sarah, there were photographs and personal items from 12 other women. You're not his first victim, but you might be the one who helps us stop him." They issued a warrant for his arrest immediately. They found his last known address abandoned, but they were tracking his vehicle and had officers watching my house. Tyler insisted I pack a bag and come back to Seattle with him that night. I couldn't argue. I didn't want to be anywhere near that house. As we were walking out to the parking lot, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I should have ignored it, but something made me answer. "Hello?" There was silence on the other end, then breathing. Heavy, deliberate breathing that made my skin crawl. Then a voice, calm and cold and too controlled. "You opened it in public. Smart girl. But round 2 doesn't end just because you called the cops, Sarah. It ends when I say it ends. See you real soon." The line went dead. I dropped my phone on the pavement. Officer Martinez was already running back inside to trace the call. Tyler wrapped his arms around me as I finally broke down completely in that parking lot. Within 18 hours, they found Marcus Holt at a cheap motel about 40 miles outside the city. When they searched his room, they found zip ties, duct tape, a hunting knife, and a printed map with my parents' address in Arizona circled in red marker. He'd been planning to escalate. He'd been planning to hurt not just me, but my family. I never went back to that townhouse. I couldn't. Even after they removed the cameras and changed the locks, I couldn't sleep in that bedroom knowing he'd stood there watching me. Tyler helped me break my lease and move my stuff to Seattle. I found a new apartment near his place, installed my own security system with cameras I controlled, and started seeing a therapist twice a week to deal with the nightmares and the constant feeling that someone was watching me. Some days are better than others. Marcus Holt is awaiting trial on multiple charges, including stalking, breaking and entering, illegal surveillance, and attempted kidnapping. The prosecutor is confident they have enough evidence to put him away for years. But that doesn't change what happened. It doesn't give me back the sense of safety I lost. Here's what I learned from this nightmare, and why I'm sharing this story with you. Trust your instincts. That delivery driver didn't have to warn me. He could have just handed me the box and left. But something felt wrong to him, and he listened to that feeling. I almost didn't. I almost opened that box alone in my house. If I had, I don't know if I'd be here telling you this story. Take threats seriously, even small ones, even when you think you're overreacting. Marcus had been escalating for weeks, and I'd ignored every warning sign. My missing wallet, the exhaustion, the feeling of being watched that I kept dismissing as paranoia. All of it was real. And finally, you don't owe anyone access to you. Not your time, not your space, not your sense of security. I was polite to Marcus during the renovation. I didn't want to seem rude or difficult. Being polite almost cost me my life. If you found this story helpful, or if it made you think twice about your own safety, please subscribe to this channel. I share these stories because they matter, because they could help someone recognize the warning signs before it's too late. And leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. I want to know I'm not alone in this. 3 months after that day at Starbucks, I'm still healing. I still check my locks 3 times before bed. I still look over my shoulder when I'm walking alone. But I'm here. I'm surviving. I'm telling my story. And if something feels wrong in your life, if someone's behavior doesn't sit right with you, if you get a warning from a stranger or a gut feeling you can't shake, please listen to it. That feeling might be the only warning you get before everything changes. Stay safe out there. Trust yourself. And remember that being careful isn't the same as being paranoid. Sometimes it's just being smart.